Turtles! So Batman vs. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles follows Batman and the Ninja Turtles when they team up in order to defeat the terribly evil Shredder, who has apparently teamed up with Ra's al Ghul to defeat the do-gooders through the use of a secret device that spreads a mysterious ooze. So I remember when the DC Comics started having their own PG-13 cartoons, which was a first for them and a first kind of for cartoons in general, because when you're watching it, you're like, holy crap, there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of cussing, and it's a cartoon. Is that even allowed? It was kind of a big deal, and I always liked seeing when they come out with a new cartoon, see what they do next. However, throughout the years, especially recently, a lot of the cartoons have been a drag. They haven't been very special. They've been just boring in a lot of ways. So you're always waiting for something new. You're waiting for them to get that spark back. So the real question is, Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Different idea. Do they pull it off? Let's get into it. So it's always difficult to rank the people category when it comes down to cartoons, because how do you rank acting when it comes down to voice acting? All it really comes down to is something biased. Does it move you? And for cartoons, it really doesn't for the most part, but sometimes it does, and you have to take that into consideration. And for this movie, it doesn't. I wasn't really expecting it to, but I was hopeful, and it doesn't. One thing that cartoons often get right, however, are characters, and they definitely got characters right here. I mean, the Turtles on their own are very unique, colorful characters that have their own skill sets, but so are everybody in the Batman cartoons and the Batman comics and the Batman movies and the Batman everything. All of these characters in general are very memorable. They have their own skill sets, and they add to the direction of what everything's happening on screen, so everybody has their own important role. It's also pretty interesting to note the dynamic that there is between Batman and the TMNT. They're very, very different characters, very, very different tones between the two, and it's very interesting to see the lighthearted nature of the Turtles affecting Batman, and the same vice versa, dark nature Batman affecting the Turtles, and an interesting dynamic. That's cool for the chemistry. The people category gets 15 out of 20 possible stars. When it comes down to the writing, it could have been way better, and the main problem here is the fact that even though the dynamic between the characters was interesting, it didn't work so well for the PG-13 aspect of the film. The Turtles are just so cartoony, they just feel so childish. And if they're gonna be childish, that's fine, make it a kid's movie. Don't make it this PG-13 thing that older kids and even adults watch, because it doesn't mash well for what they're going for. When it comes down to the Turtles cussing, it doesn't make sense, especially because they feel like they're kids' characters, and something doesn't feel right. Now, even though they have a specific goal in mind of what they're trying to do, it gets really, really crowded really quickly when you have all the characters from TMNT and all the characters in Batman in the same area at the same time. Suddenly, everything's convoluted. It's trying to be endgame. Does it feel original? In a way it does, in a way it doesn't. You don't really expect to see the Turtles in the Batman universe unless you read the comics. I don't really do that. So in that aspect, yes. But in another aspect, no. The story doesn't feel original. The story focuses on the ooze. You see the ooze a lot in the Ninja Turtle stories, and to see it in the Batman universe is kind of cool, but at the same time, you do see stuff like this in Batman all the time, like the Joker serum. It depends pretty heavily on a lot of action, and the action itself is pretty cool, it's pretty interesting, but it's aimless action. You get bored of the action even though it's pretty good, because the story just isn't there all the time, so that gets half points. 3 out of 10 possible stars for the writing category. Behind the scenes, nothing stands out, nothing's great, nothing's bad. I was really, really hoping for some visually impressive things, especially how the characters are drawn and how they are presented, but nothing stands out. Everything is exactly as you would expect it to be, which is fine, but that's all I can say about it. 6 out of 10 possible stars. The narrative structure is pretty good. It's pretty solid. I'd say it follows a pretty basic 3-act structure. I'd say the inciting incident is a little lackluster. It's more of a crossing of the threshold moment. It's when Batman and the Ninja Turtles team up, but you don't really get a great incident unless you count the beginning of the movie, which I don't. 8 out of 10 possible stars. How entertaining is it? At the bare minimum, I would say I had a good time while watching the movie, and I'm pretty sure that's the only thing it was really going for. I wouldn't rewatch it, I wouldn't buy it, I wouldn't own it. I think there are some things in there which are fun to discuss, but nothing that I would go off and recommend to others. And there are certain things in the movie that you want to pay attention to, or you'll be a little bit lost, so it is a little... Woo! so it is slightly engaging. 4 out of 10 possible stars. For the specialty category, what do you expect to find out of this movie? Obviously, you're looking at Batman and the Ninja Turtles, so how does it work as a Batman movie? How does it work as a Ninja Turtles movie? As I stated before, there is an interesting dynamic when it comes down to Batman and the Ninja Turtles, how the Ninja Turtles lighten his character. However, it doesn't feel so much like a Batman movie as it does a Ninja Turtles movie. So for that, I'm going to give this half points. However, as a Ninja Turtles movie, I think it's even more interesting, especially with the Batman dynamic. It's weird how it works more for a Ninja Turtle movie than a Batman movie, but that's how it works. When it comes down to the Ninja Turtle movies in general, this is pretty cool. So I'm going to give this 10 out of 10 possible stars. Was this a crossover that makes sense? The bad guy angle works perfectly. I think Shredder works so well with Ra's al Ghul. I think Shredder works so well in the Batman universe. But the Ninja Turtles don't actually need to be there. I get it though, you can't really have Shredder without having the Ninja Turtles, but if you could, he would just work so well as a Batman villain all on his own. So I'm gonna give this 5 out of 10 possible stars. Halfway decent. Did they make the movie that they intended to make from the get-go? I will say yes right away. This is obviously what they were gunning for from the beginning. 10 out of 10 possible stars. Specialty category got 30 out of 40 possible stars. If we add up all those points, we get 66 out of 100 possible stars. That is 66%. And now it's time for TLDR. Batman vs. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is an interesting dynamic that has the darkness of Batman versus the lighthearted nature of the Turtles. It would have been better if it was just PG and that's it. Guys, tell me what you thought of this movie in the comments down below. And for YouTube, you know you can subscribe to me, like this video, and click the bell to be notified when I come out with my next review. And until then, guys, peace out.